Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at the brand new set of Arrtx 126 colored pencil set. This is a larger set. They came out with a 72 set last year, and this is the upgraded version, or it might have even been earlier this year. So when this came wrapped in bubble wrap and in a box, it still was a little dinged up on the packaging, and the edges were a little bit scuffed. I received this product for free for review purposes, so obviously I'm not complaining about that. And it was sent to me directly from Amazon, so you know how Amazon can be a little bit rough with colored pencil packages or all packages, so it's just something to keep in mind. The edges were a little bit scuffed up and the paper a little bit broken on the corners. So if that's something that's important to you, you may want to just kind of keep that in mind that could happen. So as you can see, if I flip the box over, there's like a split, right, on the bottom of the box. Well, this is why. So I'm going to tip this up, and we're going to slide the top off, and this comes into different sections. Now, when they arrive to you, they are going to be sharpened to a blunt point, and they're going to be in the package upside down. But I sharpened them all. I swatched them and sharpened them and put them in the box this way, because that way I can see what my leads look like. And I always trust the lead color versus the barrel color. Now, they have made some improvements. I only saw 2 barrels that were really different from the lead color. I'm going to see if I can pick them out. I think this is one here. This kind of like off-white beigey color. That one was a bit off. And there was like one that looked like it was cream, but then the tip of the lead itself looked kind of greenish. I'm seeing if I can find that one. Oh, this one, maybe this one right here. The tip looks white. The barrel looks kind of like white or beige, and the tip looks like a minty green. But other than that, I thought they were pretty good as far as barrel colors, so it makes it easy to identify. Storing them like this is kind of nice, but I will say it can be kind of hard to see the colors in the center, especially if you're going for like that first look of the barrel and then the tip, because they are packed in there really compactly. That said, I also really like this because it doesn't take up a lot of space. So it's just something to consider. One thing that they changed from the other set, and I'll show you the other set really quickly. On this other set, they have your the foam that they're in. Well, I can pull out a few here so I can show you. There is individual rows for each color here. Can you see that? See how there's individual rows for each color? That keeps them from falling down when you as you're taking pencils out to use them. Your pencils aren't all falling and falling together and difficult to put back. Even though these are like long strips, they still, like, I could take a few out and my pencils aren't gonna fall together, even though this is like, these are like, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4 strips of foam with little circle cutouts. They don't fall down, or you don't lose your place if you're keeping these in a certain color order when you take a few out to color with them. So that was a big improvement there. Here they are, there is 1, 2, 3 strips. So you've got these areas here where you've got this big space where the color pencils can fall down and get out of order. And if that's something that's bothersome to you, then that's going to be a really big upgrade. Actually, I find it to be a big upgrade because it did get kind of irritating when they would fall down, or you couldn't figure out where the empty slot was, where your pencil goes. So that was a big improvement in my opinion. And both of the changes to, not the changes to the foam, I don't think, but the changes to the barrel color matching better has also been remedied in the 72 set. Now, they did take out 2 colors from the 72 set and replace them. There was a couple of yellows that they replaced with a purple and a blue, and going forward now, if you buy the 72 set, you're not going to have, there's 2 yellows in here you're not going to have, but you will have an extra blue and an extra purple, just to let you know. Now, I did swatch both the sets out, and I didn't number them, honestly, because it's very difficult to read the numbers on the pencils, especially on the lighter colors, because it's a silver. I guess, well, this is pale green, so I can read it, but silver on light colors is very difficult. Also, the print is very small, so, I mean, this is cobalt violet. I can read it, but, you know, I'm not bothering with the names. I look at the colors, and I go by that, so I did swatch these out. The original 72 match Prismacolor names pretty well. Somebody did a video where they swatched them out side by side. I didn't do that because, again, I don't really rely on the names on the Prismacolors either because, again, it's silver writing on very small on barrels. I find it difficult to read a lot of that, so I don't even bother. I just go by what color. Well, all the grays, I guess I would look, but other than that, I just go by sight. So I swatched these 72 colors when I first got them. They do have a little bit of water reactivity, and I'll just kind of show you that here. I'll pick a couple at random. That one's pretty good. That one bleeds a bit. You know, some tend to bleed, some don't. These do feel like a waxy pencil, but they're not as water resistant as Prismacolor. They're not as waxy. They feel like they might have a little bit more oil in their blend than the Prismacolors. But anyways, this is the, see all the yellows you had in that original set? That's why they removed a couple. You can look at the yellow range in the 126 set. Going through the colors, I found I would say about 12 of them looked like they were almost duplicates of other colors. So if I look at this set here, this is my 126, like those two colors are very much the same. Those two colors are very much the same. Just going through, there are a lot of colors that, you know, seem redundant, but there's no open stock availability in these colors, so that means like if you use a color up, you can't just go and buy that color. You may find that it matches the Prismacolor number of a very similar color, and you can just get that, which would work out great. These run, a set of 72 is going to cost, I wrote that down, $28, and a set of 126 is $56. Now there will be coupons, and sometimes they go on sale. So that means the pencils in this set are 38 cents a piece, and the pencils in the other set are 44 cents a piece. So just to kind of give you an idea, a Prismacolor in a set, often your Prismacolors will be around 60 cents. So if you're going to buy like a set of 72 Prismacolors, yeah, it's going to probably cost you around, you know, double, like 56 bucks, so double the cost of the 72 set. But I will say you are getting a more pigmented pencil with the Prismacolor, but overall they feel very similar to Prismacolor pencils. So yeah, just looking through, I found about 12 of the colors to be pretty redundant, but because you can't buy a single color of any of these, it might be nice if they're colors you use a lot to have an extra one. They expanded the mid-tone range in the 126 set, so that's where the extra colors are coming in, plus probably duplicates of ones that are a little more popular. They'll have different names. They're not exactly the same, but, you know, swatched out for all intents and purposes. They're pretty much the same. There are also 3 fluorescent colors. I know some people don't like that, but honestly, I like the fluorescent colors because you can color them over other colors and get this kind of like glow or boost, especially in mixed media artwork. If you're like going over a watercolor painting, these are great for that because say you're painting peaches or cherries or something, you just want to give it an extra oomph. You can do that with those fluorescent colors. Fluorescent colors aren't light fast. I honestly wouldn't count on any of these pencils to be light fast. They are a budget pencil. They are meant for, they're actually targeted more to the adult coloring book community, I think, than the fine art community, but they are nice pencils to work with. And if you're working in a sketchbook, I really wouldn't worry too much about the light fastness issues. They perform well. I think they'd be really nice for sketchbook use. I think they'd be really nice if you are a card maker and maybe you like to color with watercolor or alcohol markers, and then you just want to like layer something up to give it a little bit of extra panache or punch. These will work really great. These will work really great if you like to use alcohol markers, but you don't have a big selection and you want to enhance the colors. Alcohol markers are not light fast, so it really doesn't matter what you put on top of them. You know, just go by what looks good and what is nice to work with, in my opinion. So yeah, expanded mid-range colors. They're not perfectly water resistant, if that's important to you. Like, well, let's see, I don't need the swatch after I do this review, so I could just kind of go over and just, you can see, you know, some of these colors are lifting. Of course, now I won't have a good thumbnail because this will be a mess, but but it's more important what's in the video than what the thumbnail looks like, I think. So you can see, you know, these colors, they're somewhat water soluble. Maybe that would cause an issue if you're using fixative. I'm not sure. I don't use fixative on colored pencil work, but I know some coloring book enthusiasts do, and since this is geared to the coloring book hobby, I believe, these pencils, it would be nice to know that, I guess. So there's your look. You can pause the video. Actually, pause it before I did the water thing, and you can see the difference between the color range, but you would have all the colors from the 72 set plus additional colors in the 126 set. 126, that's kind of a strange, a strange number of pencils. So here's some finished artwork. This is one I did on, I think this is watercolor paper, Stonehenge watercolor paper. I was just seeing how opaque these pencils are, because a lot of times with your budget pencils are not super opaque, even if they are soft and feel like Prismacolors. But, and this was the reference photo I went from, was one I found on Unsplash. It was a very dark photo, very deep shadows, and I thought it was just kind of pretty, and so I wanted to draw it, and I really liked the way that worked. It worked out really well. This is one I did with a 72 set of pencils back when I first got them on sand grain paper. It worked really well. Yeah, these pencils do work well on a lot of different papers. Like this is just, this is some cold press. Well, it's a very smooth paper to be called cold press, but it's the Arrtx watercolor paper. I had a lot of fun just kind of sketching from memory on this paper. It worked out very nice. That was a fairly smooth paper. This is a nice rough paper. This is an even rougher cold press texture paper. This is a sand grain, so different textures there. Worked really good on a variety of papers, so I think that would be nice for adult coloring book enthusiasts and also rubber stampers. So it is kind of a nice jack of all trades budget pencil that I think most people would enjoy using if you like a softer pencil. So the next thing we're going to look at is a little comparison swatch blending kind of blending thing that I did here. So I just kind of grabbed some triads of colors and just did some simple blends on Canson sand grain paper with the new Arrtx pencils. They performed as expected. I was pretty pleased with the way they worked, with the outcome. For control group, I grabbed a couple of the old Arrtx pencils, did the same thing just to see how they were in comparison. Felt pretty much the same. Might have felt a little bit drier, but that could have just been the age of the pencils, which really isn't that different because the first Arrtx came out maybe a year ago. I don't even think it was a year ago. I'm thinking it was around Easter time. So like maybe 8 months ago, 9 months ago. Didn't have a real noticeable difference. Then I just, for another control group, I'm like, I'm going to do the same thing with Prismacolors, and the Prismacolors are a lot more pigmented, and they put down a much thicker layer of pencil, and they were softer. I did notice if I sharpened them like I would sharpen these Arrtx's, the tips would snap with the pressure I was using equal pressure. So these are a little bit stronger, and I sharpened every one of these and didn't have a single break. So that's something I also want to mention about the Arrtx, which I do think that the build quality in these are really nice, especially for a budget pencil, to be able to sharpen to a fine point. Capped ends. It's hard to tell if they're centered when the ends are capped, but they did appear to be all pretty well centered just from eyeballing it from the tops anyway. So yeah, no problems with the build quality. They're primed and then painted, so they've got a really nice a nice look to the barrels, and very smooth, whereas Prismacolor sometimes has some chips or doesn't look quite as smooth, I think because, you know, Prismacolor doesn't prime. They just probably do 2 coats of color maybe. But yeah, I don't have any complaints, honestly, with Prismacolors, other than they're so soft, so they break more often. These are not as soft. They're also not as pigmented. They don't break as much. You know, it's what do you like best? What are you willing to pay for? What is something that you can't deal with? And those are valid concerns. There are enough options on the market today that you don't have to settle for stuff that's going to give you grief. I like Prismacolor pencils. I like how pigmented they are. I like how soft they are because I use them in a mixed media fashion, and I like to work fast. Especially now, I've noticed that I haven't been in the mood to do a really slow piece of artwork. So like when I did the persimmon sketch yesterday, like this probably took me an hour and a half, the hamburger, and I did that months ago. This one took me about 20 minutes because I'm just like, you know, I want to do something fast. I'm not in the mood for working a slow colored pencil piece at the moment. It's just not what I'm in the mood for, but they perform pretty well even in a fast application. And that's why I like Prismacolors. I mean, that was Arrtx, but I like Prismacolors because I can work fast with them. And they're very opaque. The Arrtx are pretty opaque. I would say not as opaque as Prismacolors, and they don't quite fill in as thickly as the Prismacolors, but you know, you're gonna pay twice as much for Prismacolors. Colorsoft, I also, on this paper, I swatched out the Colorsoft. The Colorsoft are also more pigmented than the Arrtx, but performed fairly similarly. And I did find Colorsoft, actually Derwent Drawing works really well in this paper too. The Canson sand grain. ChromaFlow, actually ChromaFlow I found to be really, really close to the Arrtx. They're not as, the ChromaFlows feel a little bit drier than the Arrtx, but but I actually found them quite similar in pigment strength and blending ability. I don't know, the red seemed more pigmented, the blue seemed less pigmented, and the teal seemed about the same. So I'm sure there's a little bit of discrepancy between what color you choose. But I would say if you like these three colors, the Prismacolor, Softcore, Premier Pencil, the Color Soft, and the ChromaFlow, if you like them, and they're all a little bit different from each other, you'll probably also like the Arrtx if you want like a cheaper set to, I don't know, travel with or whatnot. Speaking of traveling, if you're going to a set to travel with, I probably would suggest either one would be fine. But if you're going to bring this, I think it would be really easy to drop these pencils because you've got this cover. It's almost like you've got two sleeves of pencils and a cover. I would recommend taking a piece of like sewing elastic or maybe like one of those headbands and putting it around this, because I just foresee somebody picking this up and dropping the whole thing and these hitting the floor. These are a fairly soft core pencil, so they would probably break. I didn't have any breakages in sharpening here, but I didn't drop the whole thing on the floor. And that's something I would worry about. And honestly, you might even consider that putting a headband or an elastic band or something around this set too, although I feel like it's just so easy to grab this with one hand that it's less likely to happen. This being twice the size, I think there's a good chance that you could drop one of these, not even thinking about it. Like, you know, you could be picking this up and maybe, you know, you're picking it up from the corner. You're picking it up from the corner and like losing the other side because you don't realize that it's not a solid piece on the bottom. Also, this box seems to want to come apart, so I'm not sure. You might want to reinforce this with some packing tape. I think I will probably just put some clear packing tape around it to reinforce it. And I've only had these for like a week. The reason I was able to get this review out so quickly is because I've already done some artwork with them. I'm familiar with the line, and I just basically needed to make sure that that the quality hadn't dropped at all between the two ranges. Sometimes that happens because companies go to a different factory when they go for a different size product. Like I've seen watercolor companies, like Doodle Hog, their set of 36 watercolors is awesome. Their set of 48 watercolors is not awesome. You know, I have no idea what their set of 12 watercolors is. It's because they used a different factory to get the different size specifications made. But these seem to be the exact same pencils. I have no qualms recommending these. Just as long as they're going to meet your needs, because there's no point in buying pencils you're not going to use. You want to make sure they're gonna do what you want to do. I think if you have hand fatigue, wrist problems, I think these will work out really well for you because they are soft. They're pretty pigmented. You can lay them down without a lot of pressure and get a good amount of pigmentation. I can just show you here. Let's just grab a color. Like if I want to, no pressure whatsoever, really. I'm just rubbing my hand across the table. You know, you can get a good laydown of color. I got a spec sheet from Arrtx. They said they are recommending 5 layers. You can do 5 layers without getting the burnishing or your paper slipping. I think it's pretty easy to do a gradient. Now this is a sand grain paper, so you're going to see grain. You're going to see grain unless you go up on the tip and you really fill it in. But even going up on I'm just going on the tip. I'm not really giving it any extra pressure. And I'm getting plenty of pigment down there. Now let me just grab a Prismacolor in a similar shade. I'll grab this Carmine and I'm going to sharpen it. So it's about the same sharpness. So if I'm doing that, like let's do the brushing. I'm just brushing my hand on the table. I mean, you don't see that much of a difference, to be honest, when you're doing the Prismacolor. I can kind of feel a bit of a difference, a little more dust with the Arrtx. But if I start to put more pressure, I will get a little bit of a gumminess with the Prismacolor. So the Prismacolors definitely feel a little bit waxier, and they do get a little bit gummy with heavier application on like a sanded paper. But you can see how much easier it is to fill in the tooth with the Prismacolor, and you may not want that. Or you might love that. I love that, but you might not love that. But you can already see how much the tip has worn down on the Prismacolor versus on the Arrtx. Okay, so it just depends on what you like. Prismacolor is a little bit more opaque. It's a little bit more gummy, more waxy. And this just feels a little bit more oily. And all pencils are a combination of wax and oil. These would be called a wax-based pencil, but they definitely are going to be a little bit more. Let's do, like, if I do water over my Prismacolor, I'm getting very little bleed off, and I think some of that is just the dust that was left behind. If I do this over the Arrtx, I'm going to get a lot more water solubility. And that, I think that, oh my gosh, look at that. On the sandpaper, you can almost just fill in the tooth with that. So that might be something you like, might be something you hate. Only you can say for sure. I like them. I think they're one of the best budget pencils out there. And I think they'd be excellent for anybody that's not concerned about having open stock availability or light fastness, because, I mean, there might even be light fastness ratings on here. Let's see if I can read this teeny tiny little... if there is, I can't decipher it. I see a barcode, which may mean that in the future they're going to start offering open stock, because, you know, it looks like the barcodes are different. So maybe they're going to start, maybe they will offer open stock in the future. The thing with open stock is in order for it to be profitable, you have to have so much adoption in the market of a product in order for companies to start selling open stock. And that's why it takes a long time, because you have to make sure you have enough customers that would be using these and use them up. A lot of people never use up their pencils. They'll have like sets for years. So there needs to be enough people that are going to use them up in order to replenish them, because you're probably not going to go and buy an open stock pencil, one of these budget open stock pencils, for $2. You might buy it if it's your favorite color and you've used it up, but you're probably not going to go pick and choose pencils at $2 when you can buy a whole set for, you know, $26. It just doesn't make sense. You're not going to pay 5 times the price for, you know, just to get one pencil on its own. It makes way more sense to get the sets. So that's why you rarely see the open stock in the budget pencils unless they get really popular. Because it's a pain for Amazon to sell a single pencil. They have to charge so much for it. If you go and buy a single marker or a single pencil, you know, from Amazon, you're probably going to pay like $3 for the pencil and $7 to ship it, because it just makes no sense. There's not enough profit in that one item. Whereas a set of pencils, they could make a $7 profit on a set of pencils, you know, which still can give you a great deal, but they can't make a $7 profit or whatever the handling. There's just a break-even point where it just doesn't make sense. That's why you rarely see good deals on open stock products on Amazon, but the sets are usually a good deal. I'm going to look at my my paper here and see if I'm missing anything. I think I caught everything. I think I've got everything here. The biggest improvement, I think, is the packaging. I like having individual rows for the pencils so they don't fall over, but that's really, you know, is that worth upgrading if you already have this 72 set? I don't know. I mean, if you want those extra mid-range colors, maybe. I think they're both great sets. And now you have all the information that you need in order to make a decision for yourself. I mean, they work great. They work great. I think if I didn't compare them right directly with Prismacolor and those other more expensive brands and saw the difference in pigmentation, I'd probably feel like I wasn't missing out on anything with these budget pencils. And I would say if you're looking for a set, maybe you've got a child that, I know a lot of people are like, don't recommend products made in China for children. I'm not talking like a 2-year-old. I'm talking like a kid that doesn't eat their art supplies. These would be a good option. And I wouldn't even think there'd be anything here that was toxic. It says not for children under 3. Let's see, they got a German address and they've got a London address on here. They got the CE certification. That's like the European version of ASTM, I believe, for safety. But you know, you got to use your judgment. I would have let my children use these over the age of 5 because they don't put their art supplies in their mouth. These are made in China, by the way. It says it right here. So, you know, use your own guidance. I can't tell you how to live your life or how to raise your children. But I think this would be an awesome pencil for kids because, you know, kids let their pencils roll onto the floor and fall off the table. And these do have more durable leads than Prismacolor. So, you know, you get one thing, but you have to give something else up. You get the durability, but you're going to give up some of the softness and pigmentation. You know, you can make your choice based on that, I think. I like them. I think they're a great deal. And I will have links to them in the video description that will take you to Amazon if you wish to purchase. Always look for coupons and make sure you click them if you see one. That just saves you some money. And, you know, these things go on sale, so it doesn't hurt. If you're not sure, you know, put them in your save for later cart and think about it. You know, never hurts to think about it. Price might go up, sure, but, you know, if you're sure that you want that product at an extra $3, it's better than to, you know, buy something you're not sure about to save $10 and then realize you don't like them. So, you know, don't feel urgency or a rush to buy any of these things I review. Think about it, you know? It's your life. Live it. Hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Until next time, happy crafting.